I can see a few participants are now rolling in. We'll just take a few minutes and then we'll get started. I'll just give it another couple of minutes and yeah, we'll see if anyone else joins. Okay, we've got a few more participants. So I guess I'll just start by saying congratulations, Melbourne. So we're second day with no cases. So I'm sure that there's a lot of you out there. Whilst I can't see you, which I will never get used to presenting to myself, I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that are celebrating the reduction in restrictions today. So it's a good day to be presenting. Everyone's feeling a little bit lighter in their step, and I hope when we finish this presentation, you can all go out and enjoy some sort of lunch somewhere. So yeah, thanks for having us today. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks to Kangan for having us. We're really excited about connecting with all of you, and we're grateful that Kangan gave us the opportunity to do that. This is the last webinar of our health and safety month, which was last month. We're basically just, raising awareness about Worksafe, what we do, how we're here to support you, and we've been doing a heap of different webinars across a heap of different industries and segments. And today, yeah, we're really excited to talk to you guys and talk about young workers. So my name's Caitlin. I have been at Worksafe for about just over a year, so I'm still relatively fresh, I feel, but I'm in the marketing and comms team. You'll also see another friendly face, which is Andrew. So Andrew is a Worksafe construction inspector. So today I will try to keep this relatively engaging for all of you, as I'm sure you've sat through a million webinars across the last kind of 6 to 8 months, but I won't try to chat for too long. I'll keep it going for about maybe 20 minutes or so. Then Andrew and I are going to have a bit of a Q&A, but then I guess we really want to open up to you guys as well, and allow you to ask some questions, which Andrew and myself can hopefully help answer for you. So I'll note again later, but we'll use the Q&A box instead of the chat box. So just make sure once we get to the questions section, just pop them in the Q&A and we'll keep track. So in speaking to most of you today, I'm assuming that you either, started a full-time career, started a part-time career, or in training to do so. So I guess it's really exciting, but you also might have some questions, and we're kind of in unprecedented times here, as you would have heard. I feel like everyone has said that, unprecedented a million times over the past 8 months, but we sure are. And I guess we just want to give you the opportunity to be able to get some information, but then also ask some questions about how you can go forth into your working life, but do that really safely, and make sure that you're as informed as possible. So I'll spend the next 20 minutes chatting about what Worksafe is, why young workers, or why are we talking to you, why are you more at risk, some of the higher risk industries, and some types of some kind of physical or mental injuries that young workers or young workers are most likely to sustain. And then probably most importantly, your rights and responsibilities within the workplace, as well as your employer's rights and responsibilities. So workplace health and safety might not be the most glamorous of topics, but it is incredibly important that you understand a few of the basics, and also understand where to go to get advice, and just to prepare you for the future, and ensure that you're ready to take that next step, I guess. So a bit about Worksafe, which I actually found quite insightful when I started working at Worksafe, because I'm not necessarily in the young workers cohort, but it was news to me about how Worksafe, what Worksafe is and how it operates. So we're Victoria's health and safety regulator, and we manages the Victoria's workers' compensation scheme. So you're probably sitting there going, what the hell does it mean? It's almost like Worksafe, and you would have heard of Worksafe and you would have heard of WorkCover. So we're one employer, but it's almost like we have two arms. Worksafe takes care of the OH&S side of things, so making sure employers provide a safe workplace for their workers. And then WorkCover looks after the workers' compensation, and we use insurance companies to help us manage this. So that's where you would see like the Allianz, CGU, Gallagher Bassett, So Worksafe agents are appointed by Worksafe to manage employers' work cover insurance, and injured workers' compensation claims. So these Worksafe agents provide expert advice and support on your behalf, and then they will also help support and manage the premiums and working through a claim. So they provide advice to help injured workers return to work, with our main aim and our overall objective is to make sure that all Victorians are safe and they return home safely. So why are we talking to young workers is, I guess, the next question. And so what do we consider as young workers? So young workers for us are 15 to 24-year-olds, and you could be working permanently, full-time, casual, secured employment on labour hire, so where the work is sourced by an external agency, you're an apprentice, a trainee, or a part of work experience. And I guess why we consider young workers high risk is basically from what it sounds a little bit boring, but it's from what our data tells us. So our data tells us that young workers have a higher injury rate, and it is out of proportion in regards to other workers' age groups. So our data tells us that young workers don't always get proper training. They may not be aware of their rights and responsibilities, and they may be afraid to speak up. So during the last financial year, 2,525 reported claims came in for young workers. So this equates to approximately 1 in every 230 young workers sustain injuries during this period. So that is what is, I guess, a higher proportion than other worker age groups. So some of the main causes from these, injuries with young workers, one of the main ones, and it might not be something that we necessarily are comfortable in saying, but it's just general inexperience. A big one is fear of speaking up or asking questions. This is probably because you want to impress your employer, or you don't feel like you have, I guess, the right to ask the questions. A lot of it is inadequate supervision. You may not be aware of your rights and responsibilities. You may be receiving little to no training, or it's that real fatigue and being overworked. So being asked to do too much and then not having, I guess, the confidence to say no, or to ask some questions in regards to your kind of working environments. So I'm hoping that none of you have experienced these common hazards. The main high-risk industries are construction, manufacturing, retail and hospitality. And those type of injuries are slips, trips, falls, being hit by moving objects. So that's like a box falling off the shelf, muscle strain caused by incorrect manual handling. And then I guess we have done a whole heap of research that also tells us that young workers are exposed to workplace bullying, customer abuse, fatigue, and harassment. So last year we went out and we spoke to a heap of young workers in an online forum, just to kind of get a real understanding of their top concerns in regards to workplace occupational health and safety. I guess our claims can tell us one thing, but then when we talk to young workers, it gives us almost like a different insight into their thoughts and, I guess, feelings in regards to OH&S. So funnily enough, that the top 3 concerns that came through from that, from those online forums, was bullying, customer abuse and overwork. So what that shows us is that injuries, both mental and physical, are crucial. They are just as important as each other, and are also extremely high concern when we're talking to young workers. So I guess I've told you a heap of information about what Worksafe is and what we know about young workers and what our data tells us. So knowing all this information, earlier this year, just before COVID hit, and I should say that because I'm about to show you a clip and it does not necessarily have people wearing masks. So this was shot pre-COVID, but we launched a young workers campaign. So basically we conducted a social experiment to see just how willing young workers were to accept unsafe working conditions. So I'll show you the little clip now, and I'm sorry if there's any bad feedback, or I'm just going to take my speakers out, my headphones out, and let's see how it goes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming in. Yeah, appreciate it.
Now, you know we're recording the session today.
Yeah. So it's just a brief sort of information session.
Okay.
All right, so we're here for manufacturing.
And we're going to have a chat about hospitality. You know that there's free food and free drinks. There's a lot about it. Yeah.
In construction, once you're in, it feels like family. So that's, everyone's got your back.
So you know that it's hard work.
Oh, yeah.
You know that it's long hours.
Yeah.
In retail, often you're actually the face of the business. Mm-hmm. So it's really important to keep yourself looking good.
Now, are you okay with a bit of overtime?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's not mandatory, but it is expected. So it could be overtime and then overtime and then overtime.
And you're okay with being on your feet all day with no breaks?
To be honest, I'm pretty used to it now.
Lunch breaks don't seem that important.
Do you have a problem with any of this, or?
Yeah, I have a big problem with it, but if it's something that I have to do.
Cool. Sometimes your wages might be a bit late or your super might be delayed. Yeah, you get it eventually.
Yeah.
You know, what happens if they don't give you any training? What would you do then?
I would still try to find my way through it as best I could.
And how would you do that?
Trial and error.
You know how you mentioned about customers, and obviously sometimes they like to rant and yell and scream a little bit at you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How are you at taking that? Like,
These men came in and they were like taking photos of me while I was working.
right,
And
calling you names?
yeah, it's fine. I'll just smile and get over it. But then when you like talk to other people, you're like, no, that's not okay.
Are you okay with a bit of teasing or name calling?
That's absolutely normal to me.
Yeah.
So when it comes to safety, that's really on you. I mean, at the end of the day, you're not the company's responsibility, are you?
No.
No. Would you be interested in a job like this?
I think so.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be great. I don't know. I want to say yes, but I mean, I don't know.
You have the right to be safe at work. Visit the Worksafe website to see the full social experiment.
Okay, I hope all you guys can hear me again, but I think you'll all appreciate that that was an extremely eye-opening experience for Worksafe to conduct a social experiment like that. Not only did it highlight the vulnerability of young workers, but for us, it also gave employers real insight into, I guess, what they can, what they expect of their young workers, what's unacceptable, but then also, you know, to kind of that kind of reality check in terms of young workers. You all do need to be kind of, I guess, we need to be really mindful of when young people are entering the workforce and just how willing they are just to do a good job. So I guess you see that and you go, well, what are my rights? What do you want me to do about it? So your rights are take reasonable care, cooperate with your employers. So following policies and procedures that they've put in place, using the control measures that they've provided. So that's any measures in order to reduce any kind of hazard or risk. Make sure that you utilise those measures as well. Attend all your health and safety training. It might not be the most interesting thing for you to do, but it is so crucial in terms of entering the workforce. And then reporting any hazards or risks. Don't be afraid to report something, because you're not only doing something that's going to keep yourself safe, but it's going to keep your employer safe and the rest of your staff and your peers. So it can only be preventative if you kind of put up your hand and say something about it. So you have the right to work in a safe work environment. While working, your manager must provide and maintain you with a working environment that's safe. That means eliminating health and safety risks and if that isn't possible, then reducing the risk as far as they possibly can. You have the right to be shown how to work safely, and this is one of the key things that we've recognised as well, is that when you're starting a new job, your manager must train you on the work that you do and how to complete your work safely. So this includes being shown on how to do tasks, use safety equipment, any machinery. That is an absolute must, and that is the responsibility of your employer to do that. You have the right to speak up. This is probably one of the hardest things. I think it's not even necessarily just for young workers, it's for anybody, is that if you come across something that isn't safe, or if you need assistance from a manager, you are able to voice your concerns, and you shouldn't have any hesitations in doing that. Your manager must address any concerns that you've raised. And if you don't feel like that's happened, please contact us. You have the right to say no as well to any unsafe work. If you don't feel like you have been provided with the right kind of control measures or the right procedures in order to eliminate those risks, then you have the right to say no. And then you also, every worker has the right to workers' compensation as well. So, and then I guess the other flip side of that is that what is the responsibility of the employer? So all employers must provide and maintain a working environment for their employees that's safe, without risk to health and being reasonably practical. So this includes providing and maintaining safe systems of work, and also remembering that health is both physical and mental. So that's physical hazards and psychological, psychosocial and psychological health. So this means the employer must address any hazards such as bullying, stress, and fatigue in the workplace. That is probably one of the most, I guess it's really hard for you to understand because it is such a kind of a broad, it's not as easy as putting a band-aid on a cut. These kind of mental and psychosocial issues are extremely relevant in this day and age, and we need to make sure that we're addressing them, that we're talking about them, and that your employer is aware of any of those kind of hazards that you're coming into. And then I guess working in a COVID world. So I think I mentioned before that, you know, it kind of goes without saying that we are working in unprecedented times. I think we're all feeling extremely grateful for the fact that the restrictions are now easing. I mean, second day of no cases, there is a lot to celebrate. But we are still in a stage where we need to manage all these risks. So whilst we all want to celebrate, we all still need to keep everything in mind in regards to COVID, and ensure that we're doing everything we possibly can in the workplace to reduce the risks. So masks are like mainstream now. I don't think I even need to tell you about masks. I remember to put one on every single time I go to the park with my kids. So whether it be the park or workplace, it's almost like having you got your phone and your keys and your mask with you now. Words like physical distancing, we had never heard before in our lives, and then all of a sudden it becomes kind of common language. And we all know about getting tested and hygiene, washing hands as a part of our kind of day-to-day. So whether you're at work or you're about to enter work soon, it's important to remember all of those COVID safe principles and apply them to your workplace. Under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, employers must provide and maintain a working environment that's safe and without risk to health by implementing suitable control measures. So even though the Health and Safety Act is from 2004, that still applies to today, and it still applies to any kind of risks that are associated with the pandemic. So putting in those control measures can be achieved by applying some physical distancing within the workplace, good hygiene, cough and sneeze into your elbow. They should be able to maintain a workplace through good cleaning and disinfection, wearing suitable and fitted face masks, and providing all of the adequate facilities or products that allow us to maintain good hygiene. So that's hand sanitizer, things like that. Depending on your industry, it might also be personal protective equipment, and I guess the last thing is that we all kind of need to avoid, using those kind of share phones, desks, offices, and trying to keep ourselves, I guess, separated from our co-workers to a certain degree. So I think you've heard all of that kind of stuff before, and the only next thing that we would tell you to do is that if you've got any questions in regards to COVID, or you need a little bit more information, you can go to our website or you can go to the DHHS website. There is a heap of information out there. I know that it might be kind of overwhelming at the moment, but I guess the fundamentals is that basically take all of your learnings from COVID and apply them to your workplace, but also know that your employer has a duty to I guess, provide a safe working environment for you as well. And I guess kind of the last thing is like, really sitting here and going, this is all great information, but I either need some more information, like where can I go to kind of get advice, and we'll answer as many questions as we can for you today. But it's important that you utilise our advisory service. On the last slide today, I'll leave you with a few different website addresses, as well as our advisory service. You can call them anytime, ask any questions. And I guess it will allow you to kind of, I guess, ask those questions that you might not be prepared to ask in a public forum. And I guess now we'll head over to the kind of Q&A section, which is probably a little bit more fun instead of listening to me the entire time. So I'll introduce Andrew. Andrew, do you just want to give us a little bit of background about yourself?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for letting us talk to you today. We really appreciate the opportunity to have an engaging conversation with people we may meet on site one day. So yeah, I guess for me, my background, I did 13 years of plumbing, and then obviously got the role as a construction inspector with Worksafe. So what that entails is basically going to any construction site, whether it be a small house construction site or a big, huge commercial site, and just ensuring that the employer is providing a safe workplace for its employees.
Great. And can you just tell us a bit about, I guess, what you do as a Worksafe inspector and your role within Worksafe as a whole?
Yep. So we basically get council areas as inspectors. We drive around and look any construction site that we see. We'll just randomly pop into and have a look and make sure they're doing all the right things. Obviously, we also get complaints that we attend. And then we've got the ability, if things need to be fixed in the workplace under the Occupational Health and Safety Act and the regulations, to get them to change whatever we need them to make the workplace safer.
And so you said you do kind of those random inspections. Are all inspections random, or are some planned? How does that happen?
Yeah, not all are random. Some are planned. Some obviously come through complaints as well from either members of the public or persons on site who don't think it's a safe workplace. And then sometimes we do targeted visits, such as the solar industry at the moment.
Yeah, right. Okay. And what do you look out for on your visits?
Look, the main things obviously in construction, fall from heights is a big one for us. Electrical issues on site. It can be anything right down to sort of housekeeping, making sure that they're keeping the site nice and safe and tidy and neat for employees on site, and providing amenities. You know, it could be providing toilets and hand washing facilities, etc. So it's a big range of things that we look out for on site.
Yeah, great. And so when you go out to a site, like, do you interact with both employees and employers? Like, can you give advice or support to both?
Absolutely, yeah. We'll speak to employees, employers, anyone on site. If you've ever got any questions, you know, we're not that scary. Come up and have a chat to us and ask anything you need to. More than happy to talk and give out any information we can while we're on site.
And so what does Worksafe do if a worker's injured at work?
So we'll often follow that up. So we'll attend the site. We'll obviously get information around how the incident happened, why it happened, and if changes need to be made on the site, we'll ensure that happens.
Yeah, great. And have you seen any big changes during COVID? And how do you think that's kind of impacted your visits and how you've seen businesses operate?
Yeah, definitely some big changes. Obviously, not so much now, but earlier on, a couple of months ago, there was, limits on how many people could be on site, which is all changing, which is a good thing, getting more people back to work. But yeah, certainly the way, workplaces, the things that they need to go through, like COVID safe plans and ensuring that there's sanitizers on site and wearing of masks, etc. Yeah, it's definitely changed the construction industry.
And so does every workplace need a COVID safe plan?
Yeah, so the employer needs to provide a COVID safe plan for the site that employees are working on, yes.
Yeah, great. And if a worker's concerned about their health and safety, can they report it anonymously? Like, as an inspector, do you need to give any information to the employer about the person who kind of, I guess, made a complaint?
No, absolutely not. If the person who made the complaint wishes to remain anonymous, we'll never give out their personal details. So we will go in and we can either act like it's just a random inspection that we were just driving past, or we say it was a complaint, but we have no idea who put the complaint in. So they can be completely anonymous.
And if you put a complaint in, does that mean that, you know, an inspector automatically comes out to your workplace and shuts it down?
No, we certainly wouldn't, definitely not come in and shut every single workplace down. We'll deal with what we need to deal with, you know, and in reference to what the complaint was about. But no, we don't, you know, definitely don't come in straight away and just close workplaces down. It's not what we do.
Yeah, great.
Unless we have to, of course. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of it from my questions. I'll start going over to the Q&A box. I can see that a few have already popped in. And I think we've already kind of addressed this one, but it's probably worth just touching on it again. So what's your advice to young staff returning to the kind of the hospitality industry in regards to COVID safe plans? So what if the workplace doesn't have a COVID safe plan?
Well, they need to have a COVID safe plan, and I would advise you to sort of read over it just to make sure that as an employee, you're doing the things that are required on that plan.
And if they don't have a COVID safe plan, we would recommend that you contact Worksafe straight away and chat to us about that and what we can do in order to help you kind of facilitate one with your employer.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd advise to ring that Worksafe advisory line, and they can run you through that.
Yeah. So the next question, it might lead to a similar answer, but even though that there are rights, and I think I touched on it quite a bit, is that it's really hard to raise issues sometimes because they don't want to get in trouble or lose my job. What would you suggest to do then?
Yeah, completely understand that. Well, I guess the beauty what we spoke about was you can be anonymous. So the employer hopefully won't know where it came from. And we certainly go to site and make sure that we don't give out any names. So yeah, if you've got concerns, raise it. That's what at WorkSafe as inspectors, that's what we want to do. We want to make your workplace safer. So we'll come out and deal with it with the issues raised.
And what's the process of putting in a complaint on a workplace?
Yeah, so just basically ring the advisory line, explain to them what you're seeing at the workplace, what you think the risks are, what your concerns are. Then that they will lodge that. That will then get sent through to an inspector like myself. We'll receive the paperwork and we'll go out to site and deal with the issues that have been raised.
Okay, great. And I've just popped up some contact details there for people who are tuning in at the moment. The advisory service is there. And we've also got a couple of different websites that you can go to as well. If you want to find out a little bit more information before you make the call, we've got a heap of information on our website. So what does an employee do if they're asked to do something that they feel unsafe? Like what are the steps to take if they're being asked to do an unsafe task?
I just try and explain to your employer the responsibilities they have to keep you safe at the workplace as an employee. Try and explain to them, look, I don't think the way we're doing it's actually safe. Hopefully they'll respond to that and go, look, you're right. We probably could do it another way. What do you suggest? Let's have a chat about it. If that's not the case and it's just you're repeatedly being asked to do unsafe things at work, well, that's where WorkSafe can help you out. Ring that advisory line and put in your concerns and we can come out and deal with that.
And I think the next question, what's the best way to contact WorkSafe? Like I said, I've just popped the contact details there. But if you have any trouble getting through, well, you shouldn't have any trouble getting through, but if you have any questions, just keep on popping them in. This is a really good one. And I think Andrew and I can both kind of give a bit of insight into this, but what do you feel the difference is between a bit of fun and bullying in the workplace?
Well, yeah, I mean, we do like to have a laugh, but you don't want to overstep that line. So it's, you need to be careful what you're saying and make sure you're not going to offend fellow employees or people on site.
And I think it's that kind of repetitive behaviour and whether you can see the impact on the person as well. You've got to be extremely mindful that someone might put on a face and laugh about it, but internally they're struggling. So like Andrew said, it's fine to be lighthearted, steer away from offending people and that kind of repeated behaviour. And if you have any concerns about, like we've said it a million times, but if you have any concerns or if you have any certain situations that you're unsure as to whether it's, teetering on the edge of bullying, or whether this is something that you could really complain about, give us a call. We've got people in the advisory service that are trained up within psychosocial issues, so they can give you some really kind of good advice about those kind of mental injuries that are not necessarily as easy to identify. Last question here. What if it goes further and they know it was me that complained?
They can't discriminate against an employee for raising health and safety concerns. As employers, they cannot do that. They can't discriminate against you for raising those concerns, because that's your right as an employee to a safe workplace.
Great. I think that's it. I just quickly saw. I think that's it. Sorry, I just had a chat box pop up, but there's no more questions that have come through. Oh no, there's a couple more. Sorry. What about mental health support? I think mental health support, we have, I keep referring to the website, but we have got a heap of information on that. Mental health, we treat mental health and physical health exactly the same. So there is no difference. If a mental injury has happened within the workplace, we will absolutely support you through that. But like we said, please just contact the advisory line, get a little bit more information. I guess it's really hard for us to kind of answer questions in regards to mental health if they're not a specific example and we don't know all the details, but you can give all those details anonymously and get some real expert advice. So that's what we would encourage you to do there. Okay, I think we've finished early. If no one else has got any other questions, I think I'll just, we really work from your feedback and we work to improve these sessions. Obviously, we're in a really hard time at the moment where everyone's figuring out the best way to I guess, give an engaging webinar. And a big thanks to Andrew for helping with that kind of Q&A section and giving us a little bit more engagement in terms of the presentation, but we want your feedback. I believe that there has been a link that's been sent to you with our survey, and there's $500 gift cards up for grabs. So give us your survey and you might be in the running to win a gift card. Great. Well, if there's no other questions, I will let everyone have a little bit more time back in their day. Like I said, go out. If you can be one of those 10 people sitting outside in a restaurant, go and do it. But yeah, I really appreciate your time here. I'm really kind of devastated that I haven't been able to see any of your faces and only look at myself. But I hope that you've got enough out of this session. And like we said, contact us, give us a call if you've got any questions that stem outside today.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.